Sure. So we have discussed till which one?
anavasthitatvāni.
Okay. This is about not being able to retain or not being able to hold on to whatever you have learned. That means not able to keep it with you. So many things we learn. So many things we learn. But if we are not able to recall it at the right time, it is as good as not having that thing in our system. So, anavasthitatvāni basically means whatever knowledge or vidya we have gained, we are not able to retain it. Correct? It would mean if you don't retain, see, Patanjali is actually saying that you don't remember it. Because pramāda was discussed earlier. That means you remember, but still you don't follow. Now this is another problem, bigger problem rather, that you don't remember at all. That is weakness of memory. Correct? That is weakness of memory, weakness of retention. Patanjali is not making it up that you don't remember. There are people who don't remember. Why do they don't remember? Maybe a long story. Why? Because it is of no value for them. Or while they're receiving, they are preoccupied. Then they're actually not receiving. But many a times what happens that even when we have received, it is our inability to go deeper into our own mind and recall it at the right time, which means it is as good as not having it. Yeah? Because memorizing, anything which comes to your conscious recall, which means you retained it and then you were able to recall it. So many things we are not able to recall. And not being able to recall is also antarāyāḥ. But why it is antarāyāḥ in our meditation where citta-vritti nirodha has to happen? Even if somebody says, I don't remember, it should be good. If he doesn't remember, it should be good. But Patanjali says, no, it is not good. Why? Because citta-vritti nirodha happens with a conscious effort. Conscious effort and having traveled a very long journey, then only that state of citta-vritti nirodha happens. During your journey, what do? You try to live by vidya. Because if you don't live by vidya, that means you are operating out of ignorance. Wrong notions. So wrong notions have to be first replaced by right notions. And then at the end, even the right notions need to be dropped. Then you attain citta-vritti nirodha. But you cannot simply jump from wrong notions to no notions. That's not a possibility. Understand? Patanjali says, Shraddha Virya Sati Samadhi Prajna Purvak Itaresha. Now, this is the flow. This is the flow. If you don't have a smriti, this samadhi, which is described in that sutra, cannot be obtained. Right? And the new understanding, new prajna cannot arise in you. You see, this samadhi, in this sutra, this samadhi is not equivalent to the samadhi is asamprajna, samprajna. This is not that. This samadhi is samadhan, resolution. Okay. So basically, Patanjali is pointing towards Jnana Yoga here. In this particular sutra, he has already described Jnana. How does it happen? How do you arrive there? But can you say that if I am not having Jnana, can I still attain Patanjali's Samadhi, which is, that sampragyata, sampragyata, sabija, nirvija, savikalpa, nirvikalpa, savichara, nirvichara, etc. No, that is not a possibility. It is not a possibility. Without Gyan, without Smriti, without having retained something which has been taught by your teacher, you cannot get that. Even this path you cannot follow. And arriving at Chitta-vritti Nirodha has to come after engaging in lot of abhyasa and practice of Vairagya. Vairagya is possible only when you live through right discrimination, viveka. You see, otherwise your Vairagya is not ripened. It's not established. See, many times we get into such Vairagya. One such Vairagya is cremation ground Vairagya. Everybody, at least 90% of people, when they go along with a procession, last procession of your life, and when arrive there, that moment is a kind of Vairagya for them. 90%, I'm saying 10% people still continue to continue to engage themselves in okay, that deal is off, that deal is on, the flat is ready. All even in cremation ground that continues. But 10% people are like that also. But nowadays. But earlier, if you see, when there were no such modes of communications to engage you while you were doing something of this importance, you would definitely be engrossed in that moment. And if you really observe what is happening, how your life actually gets terminated and gets culminated into this place, then you will develop Vairagya. But this is not Vairagya which has arisen in you after a lot of discrimination. It's situational, right? In Hindi, we call it Marghat Vairagya. This happens, and as you move out after 10-15 minutes, if the person was not exactly yours, you may come out of it very soon. 5-10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour. After that, you come out of it. If the person was so-called your own, then also out of ignorance, you develop Vairagya. Why? Your Vairagya is not the real Vairagya, but it is a dejection. It is disappointment. It is depression. And then you say, what is in this life? What is of interest? What is to be achieved? There's nothing left in life and all that. That may continue for some time. even that is not out of discrimination. That is also out of ignorance, avidya. So to be able to establish yourself in vairagya, you have to live by vidya. Right kind of discrimination. Being available. You have to be assured about the path you follow first, shraddha. Virya, you have to be enthusiastic about it, all the practices which are given. And then smriti, you have to remember what to practice, what to apply. And then you arrive at resolution of your problems, your situations, your emotional disturbances, the kind of suffering you are going through. That is called samadhi or samadhan. And when it has happened, basically you have arrived at some new understanding. Your prajna, your intellect has become more refined, at least in that matter. Is it not? This is natural progression. If you have not noticed this natural progression, and if you forget this natural progression, you may completely discount this point of anavasthitatvāni. Why? Because you will say, no need to have any memory, because ultimately you said, Acharya, because memory is the most difficult one to manage. And if somebody doesn't remember a thing, it is good. It will help him. It cannot help. Because your discrimination, right discrimination, is basically a long journey of reprogramming your intellect in the correct ways, rooted in vidya. It takes time. And for that, you have to have very sharp and very sound smriti, which means you have to have that capacity of retaining that knowledge, whatever is given to you. And that is the last but the most difficult thing. If somebody suffers from it, probably that is the biggest hurdle. Yes or no? It's a kind of inability or debility. Yes or no? And therefore, Patanjali says, this is antarāyāḥ. This is obstacle in achieving your goal. This is an obstacle in your progress. Right? So, hereby, we have to understand that in the beginning, Patanjali talks about all that alasya, nidra, pramāda, whatever. You see, so many things he has discussed. But at the end, he says, he puts cherry top. What is it? I don't remember. I don't know. Did you really tell me to do that? Was that the way to react? Was that the way to take things as they came? Was that the logic? Was that the vidya? I don't remember. Simple. So if you don't remember, you'll continue to remain there in your ignorance, and your prajna will not refine. In yoga, this is one of the most important things, that our intellect becomes stabilized, firm and stable and available for us. Okay? And intellect is nothing but certain facts arranged in a proper order. That framework is called intellect. Understand? Certain facts, certain experiences, certain inferences, right? Certain imaginations put in the right order, and that framework is your intellect. If this is in disarray, you will fail to sail through this life, and many injuries and sufferings will be inflicted upon you. And thus you will suffer from the floods, that flooding of vrittis. And how those vrittis would be? Klishta vrittis. Forget about aklishta. So when Patanjali says Vritteha panchataya klishta aklishta. That means, and therefore you should understand, from klishta vrittis you have to move to aklishta vrittis. And it is not possible without living intelligently, interacting in this life with a firm, stable, and available intellect. Having your vidya properly being at your disposal, at your command, at your fingertips, what we call it. And vidya being at your fingertips, or tip of tongue, or right here, it requires you to retain what is told. Okay. And Ayurveda and all systems suggest that so many things are available for us to, take on regular basis so that our memory becomes sharp, our recall becomes quick, and our retention is strong. Anavasthitatvāni is the biggest hurdle, and we must recognize that. Patanjali says even this can be, to some extent, done away with. Tad-japah tadartha bhavan. Because we are talking about that sutra where Patanjali has said that by chanting the name of God, which is pranava, along with its meaning, earth, bhavana, with proper connect with that, if you chant the name, if you remember that Ishvara, by way of Ishwar Pranidhan, this antarāyāḥ, this obstacle can also be dealt with. Now understand why this is antarāyāḥ. So Patanjali is not leaving anything. And at the end he uses the word citta-vikṣepāḥ. You see, we have discussed all this. It is quite possible that apart from these also you may have some other condition. For example, he is not talking about krodha, he is not talking about kama, he is not talking about greed, he is not talking about jealousy, he is not talking about any other depression, he is not talking about. See, what he has talked, that at least certain discipline you have already obtained. Some peace of mind you have already obtained. And therefore now you have taken up a higher discipline of yoga. And therefore the sutra, ath yoga anushasana, now the discipline of yoga. So many disciplines you are already having. And now after arriving at this stage also, sometimes you may suffer from these little words, which are big problems. Pramāda, 3-letter word, but big problem. Ālasya, 3.5-letter, but big problem. So these things will be tackled for the one who has already disciplined himself or herself to a moderate level. Then also these can come. He is able to retain, but he is not able to retain everything. For that he is saying even that can be helped with pranava. Simply omkar chant. Okay. So it looks like that pranava chanting is panacea. One pill for every ill. Is it not? But not that. You should always keep in mind. Tad-japah tadartha. Without that you don't achieve it. Simply chanting Om will not help. I think these are 9 broad categories. The 10th, which is just embedded in the word itself, in Sutra, citta-vikṣepāḥ. In any case, if you have been impacted at the level of your mind, and your mind is disturbed by any of the things, right? You have a lot of turbulence in your mind. That is also obstruction for you. It's mind's way, but it is an obstruction. It is an obstacle for you. So thus they become category wise, they become 10. 9 specific categories and 1 general category. Citta-vikṣepāḥ. Right? And we have to depend only on pranava japa there. No discipline. Yoga believes in your purusharth, your shraddha, your smriti, your virya, your ability of resolving things on your own. That means your prajna, your own capacity of coming to a resolution, which means samadhi. Yoga doesn't believe in that. Only you do Ishwar Pranidhan. No. You do all this along with it. There I explained. Ishwar Pranidhanad va. Some people take va as or. Because va is used in both the ways. When you say va, it also means and, it also means or. Right. So for most people will take va as or. No, it is not or. It is and. Patanjali says and. All this and Ishwar Pranidhan. If that was not the case, later on, Patanjali in his second section of this book will define his own specific yoga, which is called Kriya Yoga of Patanjali. And there also he utilizes this Ishwar Pranidhan. There are 3 things in that. Tap, Swadhyaya, Ishwar Pranidhan. That's it. So again Ishwar Pranidhan comes there. If Ishwar Pranidhan was the only thing which could have made you attain all that, then why it has to be included with tap and swadhyaya also? Which means it is not va or, it is and. Correct? So let us now move to next sutra. What is it?
Duḥkha daurmanasya aṅgamejayatva śvāsapraśvāsāḥ vikṣepa sahabhuvaḥ.
So after having defined these things, which mostly are about us, is it not? Look at all that list. Is it not dealing with our capacity, individual capacity, individual attitude? Go to the list, the previous sutra, the one which we were discussing. What is it? Take up one by one. Vyādhi. Your vyādhi or your loved one's vyādhi? Your own vyādhi. Okay. Next. Styāna. Styāna. Your styāna or your husband's styāna. Right? Again. Saṁśaya. Your saṁśaya or neighbor's saṁśaya? No. Your own saṁśaya. Your ālasya or somebody else's ālasya? Your ālasya. Correct? Correct or not? So all those parameters which he has defined, they refer to our individual. Our individual. They concern us only, nothing else. Correct? Now he is defining other things. First is duḥkha. Acha, tell me, can anyone, if he is living in this world alone, be really sad, can really arrive at this emotion called sadness? Duḥkha. Is it possible? So that means now Patanjali has started defining those antarāyāḥs, those obstacles which come by because of our interaction with others. Okay. So first one is duḥkha. Okay. Duḥkha, antarāyāḥ. Okay. This is also distraction. Obstacles, they are distractions. Now you see, obstacles and distraction, these are 2 words. Those were obstacles. These are distractions. Right? So Patanjali believes only in dealing with obstacles. And obstacles, when he says, it means only self-created obstacles. They're not dependent on anything else. They are dependent on you, your own attitude, your own priorities. What is it that you have is obstacle. But Patanjali recognized we are not here living alone. We have to interact with the world also, right? And by the way, living alone also has to do with not only living alone in terms of individuals or other individuals. Yoga is about mind for sure, right? But it is also a recognition of Patanjali that mind alone is not there. You also have a bigger structure with you, right? This bigger structure is even your body, your neighbors, your near ones, your dear ones. You know? The first thing he says, duḥkha. What is duḥkha? Do I need to explain? I don't think. This is experiential subject. We all know that. What duḥkha is. What is duḥkha? Have you ever understood what duḥkha is? Try to contemplate on what is duḥkha. Anyone? Have you contemplated what is duḥkha? See, pain you understand, but what is duḥkha? Is it a spontaneous reaction or is a state, emotional state which persists? Let me ask you this also. Experiencing this life through the lens of avidya. This is duḥkha. It's not situational, outside. It is deep avidya, deep ignorance. Patanjali has told you that you have sukha is not a problem. It is not a distraction. Rather, he is advising us to move from duḥkha to sukha. Sukha, which is not generated by any external changes in environment or situation, but rather change in your understanding. Shraddha, Virya, Smriti, Samadhis, Prajñāpurvak. That has to be attained. Okay. It is not to be attained by changing the situations. You have to refine your vidya, make it available for working by having good smriti of it, and then have a resolution of whatever you are going through, whatever you're perceiving, if you see a conflict, and then further you arrive at a better understanding of the world. Prajna becomes refined. That is a Prajñāpurvak. So these are the ways. This is our progression. In this, what we are doing, this is helping us move from klishta vrittis to aklishta vrittis. Okay. So klishta vrittis are duḥkha. Aklishta vrittis are sukha. Okay. That means duḥkha is an environment of mind. It's a kind of environment. It is an environment. It is something like it is a vasana which has been developed. That means we are revolving our all energies and our awareness and our thoughts around the same painful experience again and again. Same deprivations, same thing, same ignorance we are repeating, and therefore it is duḥkha. Actually, duḥkha is a very broad term, but duḥkha per se is because of our perception of the world in the wrong way. I mean, it is that condition, which means it is personally you were doing all vidya at the level of self. All those antarāyāḥs came, primarily 9, plus 1. Again, the citta-vikṣepāḥ, whatever vikṣepa you can create in your chittam, that is obstacle. But 9 categorically defined. Antarāyāḥ, so obstacles. Now these are also distractions. It's a duḥkha. It may be duḥkha at the time when you are not trying to do any yogic practice. Can it be so that you can suffer from duḥkha all through, but when you sit on your meditation mat or dharana, dhyana, samadhi or asana, pranayam, you will be free of duḥkha? It is not possible. So why? Because it has become like a flywheel which goes on and goes on and goes on. Environment has become like this. You can't put all the brakes all together to that duḥkha and sit for pranayam, sit for asana and all. No, not possible. Correct? So therefore, duḥkha has to be dealt with by proper understanding. For example, you may say, I'm not happy, I'm sad, let's say, for example. And I'll ask, what is your financial condition, how people around you are placed, how they treat you and all that. She will say, fine. And she may say, no, but I'm not happy. But if suppose in the same situation, another person is sent, the one who is striving to achieve all that, the same person in her situation will become sukhi. So duḥkha was what? Where from duḥkha arrives? Try to think. You are suffering there, the person is suffering there. That person can switch to your role and can become sukhi, right? You moving on to another station can become sukhi, right? Which means the situation and the station in itself was not the source of sukha or duḥkha. Only the way you perceived it was duḥkha or duḥkha. Correct or not? Yes or no? Similar situations can't produce, you can't guarantee that all people will have the experience of sukha in this, or all people will have experience of duḥkha in it. Which means what? Yes, one way expectation. One way you call expectation. And what is expectation? Expectation simply means someone else is also there. Because all self-expectations have been dealt with in the previous sutra. Now Patanjali is talking about expectations from the surrounding, the others, situations, people, color of wall, color of clothes, the thickness of mattress and everything. Right? That is duḥkha. So, whatever debilities you can have in you, Patanjali has described that it is obstacle, and these are distractions. Why he is not calling them obstacles? Because they literally don't exist. Only you have to change the way you look at it. That is why they are just distractions. They're not obstacles. They can be dealt with. Not that they can be dealt with so easily, but they can be managed. They can be really managed with much ease, rather than those obstacles which you have to work on. And therefore, they are just distractions. Right? And one thing also, you need to understand. They're just distractions. So that means they're not literally obstacles, which also implies that they can continue to exist, but you can still progress if you know how to deal with them. So while you're receiving vidya, while you're engaging in the practices which will be recommended later on, but not here. For this path, this sahabhuvaḥ, the highest upaya of Yoga Sutra, right? It's not possible. These distractions are equally dangerous. Why? These distractions like duḥkha, etc., being there, It simply means you have not yet developed the vashikara vairagya. If it affects you, but if it does not affect you, it simply means you have vairagya, which is vashikara vairagya, which means at a time when you want to be free from it, you can be free from it. Important point. So there may be dukkha, but you can manage it. You can stop that vritti for some time. Right? Vashikara shanya. Vashikara shanya vairagya. That means you have control. Okay? So you may be dukkhi, but you have control. You can drop that and be available for something else. Don't you do that? We all do that. But again, we do it for the wrong things, rooted in avidya. For example, you have so much dukkha in life, but suddenly, out of the 1,000 things which were haunting you and bugging you up, you had so much dukkha and you had that inner environment of dukkha, but suddenly you remember that tomorrow is your somebody you love, somebody you care, somebody you treat as your own has birthday. Now, put it aside. Everything. Don't you do that? You do. But again, you do it only for the purpose of what? Again, trying to take sukha from where the dukkha was also coming. The same source. That means rooted in avidya again. Of course, we think always know that dukkha comes from outside. Right? But where from sukha comes? Sukha comes from the same source. And that is why, if you have right kind of discretion, viveka, you would recognize thing which I am dealing with now is the source of both. Sukha and dukkha both. That is going to develop dispassion, vairagya. And this vairagya will elevate you from that situation. Now you will not be the subject of sukha and dukkha. And it comes by applying viveka. What your viveka says. Viveka says that the person whom I say I say that he's so much important or she's so much important for me. Why you are saying so much important? Because you think that that particular person is the source of joy, source of happiness for you, right? But don't you see that that same person is also the source of suffering for you? Don't you see that? But out of your what you call insistence, you ignore it. That is not right kind of discrimination. That is not vivek. That is not vidya. Vidya is recognizing it truly that the same situation, same person, same object is the source of joy as well as source of suffering, both. Now, how do you deal with it? Dispassionately. What is dispassion? Disinterestingly, no. With virya, virutsaha, with enthusiasm. Dispassion does not mean that you have a long face all the time. No. Dispassion does not mean that. Dispassion means engaging in what must be done with a lot of enthusiasm. Whatever is to be done, you engage in it. Right? Fully recognizing many other things. And that is called vidya. If you don't apply vidya, it will become difficult. So, dukkha and then daurmanasya. Dukkha can arise by our interaction, expectation, by continuously remembering all that, what is not right in my life, you create an environment which is of dukkha. When you are sad, when you are suffering, look at people who are suffering more than you. This is what is advised. That will take away dukkha. Okay? When you are in another contrasting situation, right? Look at people who don't have it. They will become sukhi. So there are two situations. So lack of sukha, look at those who don't have it. Excess of dukkha, look at those who have more than you. Your dukkha part will be taken care of. You will remain in equilibrium. Right? For example, you say, I have a very small house. Look at those who don't have a house. Right? You say, I am suffering from a debility. I don't have a leg. Look at that person who doesn't have both the legs. This is how it is. This is Vidya. Why will you not look at that? That is my question. You have to see that also. And then if you're comparing that, if I would have had that kind of body, I would have achieved more, and then look at those. And you say, no, I'm blessed. I'm much better. I can still achieve more. I'm in a very, very good space now because I can see that people have even greater sufferings than I am having, greater debilities than I am having. Yes or no? So this is how you deal with it. Patanjali is not defining, but only telling that this is how these things affect us. Dukkha. And then there is one more. Now, daurmanasya. Daurmanasya means not a good state of mind. Daurmanasya is different from dukkha. What best example you can give? Just morning you get up. And every morning you are in the habit of having your favorite brand of tea, right proportion of sugar and all that. Right? And you don't get it. What happens? It cannot be said that you are in dukkha. It's not dukkha. But your mind, it is filled with some sort of negativity. Neither you can call that I'm sad, nor you can call that I'm happy. And you're not all right. Daurmanasya. People say, I'm in bad mood. Don't talk to me. This is daurmanasya. Right? They are not sad, but they're not in a good state. Again, it has not gotten to that level of dukkha yet, but it will approach there. If it persistently happens, daurmanasya will lead to dukkha if it is left unattended. This is also a distraction. And many a times you would find you need no trigger for that. So daurmanasya is natural process. It may happen. For that, what happens? Your smritis, your inner body mechanism, it is not functioning well. It's not manifested yet as any disease, but something isn't right. And therefore, your mind is also affected. You're agitated, not feeling good. This is daurmanasya. This is distraction in yoga. Why? In this state, you can't be applying your vidya or discrimination properly. Have you not seen in such situations how people pick up fights, literally so, only because they are agitated in this state of daurmanasya. And picking up fight means you're full of vrittis again. So many vrittis will haunt you. Forget about chitta-vritti niro. Picking up fight means you have already come into the state of dvesha. Right? So when dvesha is haunting you, how can you say that you are beyond raga and dvesha? Beyond raga, dvesha is vairagya, vashikara sankhya. At that time, you don't have any control on it. Daurmanasya. It's also a distraction, but it's temporary. It can be dealt with, right? With right kind of understanding. Sit down. Again, try to do tajjapa tadartha bhavanam. Om. Right? It will help. Calm down, calm down. Dukkha again. How dukkha can be dealt with? By Ishwar Pranidhan, having expectations from others. They are not coming up to your expectations, right? You have a certain pattern in your life getting repeated. What do? Ishwar Pranidhan will help. Why it will help? Because you will recognize that Ishvara is just. If these things are happening to me, I deserve it. That's it. He is not biased. If I'm doing everything right, but still not right things are happening to me, Ishvara is there, who gives the fruit of all the karma. Therefore, I will take it without any remorse, without any agitation. Right? So this is how dukkha and daurmanasya, all etc. can be dealt with by again Ishwar Pranidhan. Right? What is next? Aṅgamejayatva. Okay. Which means you don't have control on your body. There is this trembling of body which is a disease you must have seen. Is it not? Have you not seen people suffering from such diseases? And somebody will sit and will continue to do. If you are suffering from this, it's a distraction in you. It does not mean that you will not be able to succeed. Because if you can omit it, if you can ignore it, because it's just a distraction. Distractions are to be ignored. What are this distraction? What do you do about distraction? You're studying and there is a quarrel happening in your neighborhood. People are shouting. What can you do? Ignore. Have concentration, do whatever you are doing. Ignore. Correct? Na? So if you have dukkha, the Patanjali says ignore. Daurmanasya, he says ignore. Only if you have that capacity to ignore. Right? For that you should have a higher purpose. You should have a vyādhi, utsaha, to do something else. You should have a goal. You should have a discipline. On a working day, if you suffer from that little headache, or little body ache, or little daurmanasya, or little dukkha, you will ignore it and you will still go to office. Don't you do that? Because you have something which you think is important. Important for your bread and butter, maybe just next appraisal, whatever is due. But it is important for you and therefore you do it. So if you have that goal or anushasana of yoga, having that higher place in your understanding, in your life, then you will ignore it. Distractions can be done away simply by ignoring. Right? So I'll tell you, even you're talking of dukkha, even biggest pains and injuries can be ignored if you have a higher goal in life. Have you not Have you ever, listened to those awards which are given before 26th of January to those brave hearts who supposedly lay their life for our country or suffer badly? Probably most of such awards are given posthumously, but some stay alive also. Look at those people and you will see. It is said that he suffered 7 bullet injuries, but he did not stop until he, completed his job and all that. So forget about dukkha. If you have a goal, if you have a purpose, if you have a virya, you can ignore the highest of injuries also. And aṅgamejayatva, all that. You see, people with many physical debilities have also been able to achieve if they really wanted. Do you know someone climbed Everest with prosthetic legs also? So what, my body is trembling, I don't care. This will not come in the way. This is how it is dealt with, aṅgamejayatva. But Patanjali says it's a distraction. For ordinary, it is distraction. They can't ignore it just like that. They'll have to do something about it. Do something about it, whatever can be done. If it is still happening, just ignore it. It simply means I'm not yet, evolved enough. I'm not yet rooted in vidya to that extent that all these things I can ignore simply. And by making those choices, right choices of shraddha, virya, smriti, samadhi, and pragya, you can, or else it is not possible. But you should give that importance to your goal. You should know that it is really important for me to achieve that goal of bringing my mind under my control. The whole effort, the whole struggle is about that only in Patanjali also. Right? So these little battles can be won very easily. You are at that war with your own chittam, unruly chittam. So what are we trying here? So the monkey mind needs to be converted to Hanuman. That is our struggle. What is next? Okay. Which means not having a right kind of breathing pattern, or having difficulty breathing, your disturbed breathing pattern, that can also be taken as distraction. Physical symptom it is being discussed, most of it. Right? Śvāsapraśvāsāḥ is very much a gross activity. Right? It can be a distraction. Yes, it can become a distraction. On the days when you are suffering from cough and cold, you're not able to breathe properly, will you be able to focus on anything else? Difficult. But Patanjali also means here that if you become aware of it, you would deal with many other distractions. The duḥkha also changes your śvāsapraśvāsāḥ. Daurmanasya also changes your śvāsapraśvāsāḥ. And trembling can happen due to your emotional agitation also. It may not always be a medical condition for you. Right? But in all these conditions, your śvāsapraśvāsāḥ will also be effective. If it is not in rhythm, if it is not calm, if it is not deep, it is problem. It needs to be corrected. See, another way. Now, Patanjali, if he says that you can achieve your goal by abhyasa vairagya, he has not yet introduced pranayam. Please mind that, go back to that. He has not yet introduced pranayam. But still he's saying śvāsapraśvāsāḥ means in this path, even a asthmatic can succeed because just distraction. See, abhyasa vairagya, following the path of abhyasa vairagya, even a person who is asthmatic can succeed because just a distraction. You can omit it. Ultimate goal is to have your mind under your control. And got my point. Patanjali has not yet introduced pranayama. It is lower discipline for the lower sadhakas. For higher sadhakas, he is saying, these are distractions. If you can ignore them, good. So vyādhi can be an obstacle, but if you evolve, vyādhi will just be a distraction. It can also come to that category of distraction, just a distraction. So all those things which you think are impediments and they are obstructing your, many of them can be converted into just a distraction. I don't care. But many things you have to attend. You can't say pramāda is just a distraction. No. Right or not? Styāna is just a distraction. No, it is not. So many things you can deal with. Ālasya is just a distraction. No, you can't just ignore it. You have to deal with it. So many things, many other citta-vikṣepāḥ, you can ignore. For example, disappointment is also daurmanasya. You're in jealousy, daurmanasya. Right or not? So these things can be ignored. Okay, na? For the time being, I will drop it. I'll drop the project. I'll drop the thought of somebody else's progress, and I'll drop the comparison which I'm engaged in, and thus I will come out of it. Simple. This much control you have to succeed here when you think that you are the candidate who is eligible to attempt by abhyasa and vairagya. Plus Ishwar Pranam. This is the way here. And what is next? It's vikṣepa sahabhuvaḥ. These things happen along with your vikṣepas. That means vikṣepas are defined, 9 categories are defined, and certain other vikṣepas, as I said, 10th category, generic one. Along with that, sahabhuvaḥ. Along with that, these things happen. And therefore, if the obstacles are not dealt with properly, with proper vidya, with proper abhyasa, with proper vairagya, with proper understanding, with proper enthusiasm, with proper recall of your wisdom, then it will lead to this duḥkha. I've been doing pranayam since the last 5 years and sitting for meditation, but my mind is still not under my control. What is it? Duḥkha. Along with these vikṣepas come these things. Duḥkha comes, right? Daurmanasya comes. Change in breathing comes. Trembling comes, right? All these things come. So you have to be aware. Sometimes you may feel that I'm not suffering from anything. That means I'm not in a state where I will call myself not fit for doing any yoga. Patanjali is saying sahabhuvaḥ. Along with that, these also happen. If you are not able to say whether I'm a pramādi or not, if you're not able to understand that, look for these. These things will be there. If you're not able to capture those subtle things, find out these symptoms. They are also there. 1 or 2 or 3 or all of these can be there if you become aware. So Patanjali says, you may be having obstacles, you may not be doing right kind of practice, you may not be enthused, you may be in lethargy, you may be postponing, but you may not recognize. Then what to do? Get back. Find out for these symptoms. These are very gross symptoms. right? So you have to deal with these as well. You have to be aware. Some symptoms which are available at the level of understanding, some symptoms which are available at the level of emotion, then moving on to at the level of body. Change in breathing pattern. What is it? Simply connected with the body. Trembling, connected with the body. Right? Duḥkha, connected with your emotional state. Daurmanasya, it's somewhere in between. Mental and emotional, somewhere boundary line, in between. It's not yet got an emotional, at the emotional level, but it has sunken deep, more than mental. Daurmanasya. So all those things Patanjali defines that whatever be the problem in any of these systems at the level of intellect, at the level of breathing, at the level of body, at the level of enthusiasm, at the level of recall, at the level of retention, everything has to be watched for. You have to become attentive. And then you will be able to do away with it. Methods can be applied only when you recognize there is a problem. If you don't recognize there is a problem, then what will you do? You will live with it and you will fail again and again. You will not recognize that I'm a pramādi kind of person. I know that this is to be done, but I don't do. But how do you recognize it? So, for recognition, Patanjali says, if you are in pramāda, most likely, observe deeply, you will be in duḥkha. Patanjali says that. If you are pramādi, if you are having all those things, ālasya, you will be having element of duḥkha. Yes or no? This is how we need to find out. If nothing we can say, we are perfect. We are perfect. We don't have any obstacles. All things I am doing well. Look for these things now. Because those things you are not able to identify. Become more focused on these symptoms. Am I suffering from any sort of breathing? My breathing is correct or not? Am I feeling any sort of sadness within? Right? These two symptoms are very important. Watch out. If you are suffering from sadness, you're not the fit candidate yet for yoga. This yoga, you have to do other yoga. Abhyasa vairagya yoga will not be working for you. Right? If your breathing is not yet harmonized well, you're not fit for this yoga. If you're having a lot of lethargy, if you have tendency of postponing, it's not. If you're not able to recall the things when they are needed to be applied, you're not fit for this. And you have to deal with all. Patanjali is only enumerating these things for what? For the sake of our knowledge? No. You need to deal with it. Recognize them in your own personality and then work on it. But let me tell you, not easy. Not easy. And therefore Patanjali will have to come down from his pedestal. He will come down. And then he will start defining in second path, which is called sadhana path. In sadhana path, he will say, okay, I have given you very, very high ideals and probably you may not have understood what to do. Now let me tell you what you can do. Currently, whatever we are discussing, as per our own capacities, understandings, ability, and past sanskaras, we'll be able to grasp as much as we can. But not everything. Because for the ones who have been yogis in their past incarnations, it would be easy. Patanjali has already defined that. Prakriti, Laya, and Videha. If we fall in that category, it will be really easy for us. But if we are not, then we'll have to go to second. Samadhi path is not for us. We'll have to move to sadhana path. From there, we will see what we can do. And let me tell you, even sadhan path is not for everyone because atha yoga anushan. So lot many disciplines you have to have even to enter into sadhan path. Right? All right. So for today, this much is enough. I think we can close it here. Thank you so much. Let's pray and then we. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashit Dukha Bhave Om Shanti 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 Shivam.